Hey guys, I'm April from Giggle Glitter Graphics, and today I'm working on my Christmas journal, finally. So I have several fabrics that I'm choosing from for the cover, and I decided to go with this really light damask pattern. This is a really cream and yellow and green journal, and I really want to keep it pretty mellow, not a little bit of red, but not a punchy red. I'm constructing the cover using some chipboard that I bought. I'll link to that in the description down below. And I have two pieces that are 8.5 by 5.5 and a spine that is 2.5 inches. I'm just laying that all out and cutting around the edge and make the fabric kind of the right size, but a little oversized. I haven't decided how I'm going to finish the edges. I might just leave them kind of raw around the edge. So I'm leaving some room until I decide what exactly I'm going to do with that. Once I'm happy with the size of my fabric, I'm going to decorate the chipboard. All I'm going to do to this for now is get some pre-printed paper. This is digital paper from my Holiday Dream paper kit. And I've just printed it on one side of a thick sheet of paper, and I'm going to use my Uhu glue stick to attach that directly to the chipboard. I wanted a really smooth, clean inside and with a tight edge, and I didn't feel like wrapping. I usually wrap these interior panels, and today I just wanted to try something a little different. You could use other glues for this, like a bookbinding glue or Fabri-Tac or something like that. I'm pretty happy with the Uhu glue stick, but if I notice that it's peeling up around the edges, then I will definitely reevaluate and use something else in the future. So once that paper is glued down nice and tight, I'm just going to trim right up around the edges and then finish it all off with some vintage photo distress ink. I'm going to put that distress ink around all of the edges. I really like the look of it. This was a lighter digital paper, which was intentional. I'm trying to get some lighter colors on the cover and on the interior cover. So this distress ink is going to pull in some of the antique-y, creamy, yellowy vibes that the printables that I'm using have. Now I'm just going to lay all of the panels out, and I really like how clean this looks. I don't think I've ever made a cover where I didn't wrap the panels all the way around, so adding the paper to just one side and then gluing these down to the fabric is very different for me. I'm using my Beacon Fabri-Tac, and I'm just going to put a super generous coating on the back of my spine. And I'm going to repeat this for the other panels, but I'm going to put so much glue on here. I can't even stress it enough. The chipboard definitely soaks the glue up. And then you want to be able to spread the glue all the way out, because this glue will definitely soak through your fabric if you leave thick beads of it. So I'm just going to cover everything really, really well, spread it out with my finger, and then place my spine down just about on the middle of my fabric. I'm then going to repeat that process for both side panels. Again, making sure the glue gets all the way to the edges and it's smeared out really, really well. I do leave a small gap between the spine and the side panels. This allows the book to open and close. This is a super thick upholstery fabric, so I think it's going to hold up really well long term and not need any other reinforcement. This is my personal journal, so I'm not worried about heavy duty usage. To finish off the edges, I think I'm just going to use pinking shears and cut all the way around. Now, this fabric does want to fray just a little bit. I'm going to kind of see what it does while I'm working on the journal. And if large swaths of fabric is just falling apart on the edges and it doesn't look good, then I'll reevaluate and figure out what to do about that. But I don't mind some fraying. These are junk journals and they are supposed to be messy and they're supposed to be fun. So I'm just going to use these pinking shears and trim all the way around the edges. And now my cover is ready to be decorated and have the signatures put in. For the front of the cover, I've decided to layer up some different ribbons. I have this sheer ribbon with the holly berries on it that I picked up at the thrift store earlier today. And I'm just going to trim the edges of that with some pinking shears. This was a wired ribbon and I have pulled the wire out of it. I'm going to attach this ribbon to the cover using my Fabri-Tac. I know that you can sew this. I am not much of a seamstress, and I did try to sew some elements for this cover and they were not behaving for me, so I've decided to go the glue route. So I'm just going to run glue right down the edges all the way on the top and bottom and on either side. And this seems to be giving me a really good hold. I really like this ribbon and I decided I wanted to add a little more. So I cut a piece in half right down the middle with my pinking shears to create 2 more narrow strips and attach those using the same method. You can see these pieces glued down really well. Everything is super flexible and secure, and I'm super happy with this even though it's not sewn. I'm going to continue layering up the cover by adding some sage green chiffon ribbon, and I'll link to this in the description down below. This is a really fine ribbon, so I used the glue very sparingly and kind of just sat the ribbon on top and gently smoothed it, hoping it wouldn't soak through, and that worked really well. I was surprised at how the glue didn't show at all. And over top of that, I'm adding some lace so that the green shows through. I'm getting that really light kind of sage green and cream Christmas that I'm going for. And I use the same method. I put a row of glue right above and below the chiffon and then gently lay the lace right into it. And the whole thing turned out so well. Everything seems to be stuck down very well, is very flexible, and I'm super happy with this cover. Next, I'm going to assemble the signatures. I'm making this into a 4-signature journal. I'm using principal pages from the Holiday Dream junk journal kit and add-on kit, as well as some other ephemera pieces. I've got some vintage 1950s iron-on embroidery transfers, mulberry paper, vintage music paper that I actually got in a box on a neighborhood free table in front of somebody's house this week. It was a whole box of sheet music. That was pretty exciting. And I've got some envelopes too that I saved from Christmas last year and from a grocery store. So I'm just going to start looking through my signatures and figuring out where everything is going to go. I just kind of start experimenting, looking for the right spot for each piece, but then also making sure that each of these types of ephemera are spread evenly throughout all 4 signatures. I might not use a little bit of everything in every single signature, but I'm definitely going to use all 3 pieces of those embroidery patterns. They are Christmas themed for the most part. They were mixed with a bunch of holidays on one sheet, so I tried to just pull out the Christmas section. I wanted you to see what that process looks like, so I'm going to let it play out here at a faster speed. I end up with about 7 pages per signature. That is about 14 when you count front and back. And with the 4 signatures, this is probably going to be plenty of pages for my journal. I do a lot of heavy decorating, so my 2.5-inch spine is going to fill up a lot faster than I think. I also end up adding some coffee dyed paper into the journal. I use a decal edged ruler to tear that paper just to get kind of a funky, uneven edge. I have a whole set of these rulers and it's fun to have different edge options to pick from. Once I think I have everything the way I want it, I give the signature a final flip through just to be sure, and then I move on to the next one. I'm going to show you a quick flip through of how all the signatures turned out so you can get an idea of how I ended up layering all of the different elements together. I really feel like I got the look that I wanted with this, kind of an eclectic mix of vintage and modern, with some bright spots here and there while still keeping that kind of antiqued, dreamy cream and green theme with those little touches of red that I was going for. Now I'm ready to sew the signatures in. I'm just going to do this with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch using my bookbinding kit. This kit came with several colors of wax thread and I'm using a golden color. I'm using the awl and a template that I already have on hand to punch the holes through the spine and then also through the signatures. I made this template myself using graph paper to measure out equal distant holes so that I know that everything is going to line up. I'm not going to show all of the details of the 3-hole pamphlet stitch because that just takes a really long time and it's a slightly awkward process. But I wanted to show you just a quick overview of how I constructed it and what it looked like once I got all the pages in. I really like these threads hanging down on the inside. They're a really light color, so they don't stand out strongly against the decorative papers, but they do add texture, and I can add some beads or charms to these later. At this point, my journal is all constructed, and I think I'm going to end this video here. I'm not going to do any more decorating on the cover. I might tie some things onto the front later, but I've run into problems where I'm working on the inside and my embellishments on the outside can potentially get damaged. So I'm going to save that for later in the process. If you're interested in the principles I used in this kit, you can find them in my Etsy shop. I have a link to the Holiday Dream bundle, as well as a link to the individual Holiday Dream listings in the description down below. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see the page decorating video that is going to come out next, please like and subscribe so you'll be notified when that video is available. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.